The DJI Pocket 3 allows us to capture some pretty amazing footage, which is impressive considering how small and discreet it is. But there are a handful of accessories that make it even easier and more enjoyable to use. Here are 10 that I think you'll love. Just a note that I purchased all of these with my own cash, so this video is not sponsored by any of these companies, but it is brought to you by those of you who have picked up the Pocket Pro LUTs pack, which are some of the best LUTs out there for the Pocket 3, and they're specifically designed for D-Log-M and the natural profile. The first accessory is very useful, even though it looks underwhelming, and here is why. If you're on a budget, or maybe you don't have a lot of space in your room to put lighting, maybe you can't afford lights quite yet, you just use the powerful suction on this thing to lock it onto any window, and that'll give you a nice, big, bright light source directly on your face, also known as the sun. So you don't need space for a big light stand, and you don't need to buy a light. But the other nice thing about it is if you have a phone holder like this, which I think came with my DJI gimbal, I'll put a link to another solid option in the description as well, you can just slide this into the cold shoe mount, put your phone in there, and now you'll be able to quickly reference your notes for the video that you're recording. And once you clip the DJI mic onto this center pole here, you'll be all set for all the important and influential things that you want to say. I love lamp. Up next is the Pro Case from ScottyMakesStuff.com. This thing is basically a little tank that protects your Pocket 3. It also acts as a camera cage, so you can attach different accessories to it. And it has so many neat little features that make it too dang useful. So you have the little side clasps here that you push in to take off the top, which has a really cool feature, by the way, which I'm gonna mention. And you just toss your Pocket 3 with the extended battery in there. And then to make sure it's secure, they added this little screw. So it screws into that bottom 1/4 inch thread hole. And then from here, you can attach the DJI tripod or any tripod that you'd like. Any tripod stand, and then you have different accessories that it comes with. So it comes with the cold shoe mount that you can apply to any of these 1/4 inch thread screws, so you can attach different accessories. Something else that's super cool is they added these little, basically like peg stands. So if you set this right here, it's not going to smash your screen against the desk. It'll also prevent your actual camera from being smacked down if you happen to set it too hard. So they kind of thought of everything in that regard. They also left holes for all the places that the mics are on your camera. There's a space for your USB-C port, so if you need to charge or transfer files. You have a place to attach a strap if you'd like, and if you want to flip the screen, it does so really nicely. It's not hindered by any part of the case. You can also access your micro SD card right here, and then I attached this, but you don't have to. It's basically a little hook or a little strap, so if you have a backpack, you can then strap it onto the backpack. It's also just nice to hold. It gives you a little extra grip, I feel like, and it adds some weight, which if you know much about stabilizing any sort of camera, a little bit of extra weight kind of takes out some of those small micro jitters, but it's not that heavy. But if we attach this and you're ready to store it, you can just take your DJI mic, clip it on here, and it stays pretty clipped in. That way you just toss this in the bag and not have to worry about it breaking your camera. You can also probably use it as a weapon if you'd like. I wouldn't recommend it, considering you may break the camera, but you have it in case you need to throw it at someone who's annoying you. Kidding. This is not a weapon, it's a camera. It's maybe a weapon of art. The other nice thing about it is on the top of this case, they put a little magnet right here. So you know how on the typical case, which I think I have right here, you have the inside which holds different filters, is magnetic. Have you ever noticed that these fall out? Maybe not for you, but for me, this sometimes just falls off and I'll notice that it's somewhere in my bag. The nice thing about this is it's extremely strong. Like, this magnet is actually kind of tough to get the filter out. And you might be wondering, yeah, but then how do you put it back on the whole case? It fits on snugly, no issue at all. So there's a lot of space. If you have multiple filters, which we're gonna be going over later in this video, you can just toss them all in here. That way you're set. This is the STARTTRC backpack clip. If you travel a lot, then this is probably a solid accessory for you. It's pretty simple to use. You just put the Pocket 3 in here until the joystick is in this little open area, and then you tighten this, at the angle you want, and basically you're all set to add this to your backpack shoulder strap. You could put this on your kid's ear or really wherever you'd like. And whenever you want to use your Pocket 3, there is a button on the side that you press to quick release it. You'd think that it doesn't hold very well, but it surprisingly does. Pretty useful if you are out and about and you're seeing the sights or hiking and you want easy access to the Pocket 3 to take some shots. Oh, and also the underside is a giant magnet. So if there's something metal around, you can plop this bad boy on there and get a different looking angle. And it's a fairly strong magnet too, if you're wondering. For those of you who watched my video on the best cinematic settings for the Pocket 3, you may recognize this guy right here. These are the Freewell VND Mist filters edition. So they're variable and D filters. So if you're shooting in manual, you can control your exposure, so you don't have to mess with the shutter speed. And on top of that, they're mist filters, which take off that digital edge from your footage and add some nice bloom around your highlights. The result is a softer cinematic look that I'm a huge fan of. In fact, most of my lenses always have mist filters of some sort on them. They usually don't come off, which maybe is crazy to some people, but I just like the look. However, if you don't shoot in manual with the Pocket 3, then forget I mentioned these. But the one that I would suggest for those of you who shoot with the automatic settings and for those of you who shoot in manual is this little guy, the K&F, and you can barely see it, the K&F Concept Black Diffusion 1/4 inch mist filter. Once again, it's a mist filter, so it blooms your highlights and softens your skin tones just enough to take that too sharp, too digital edge off. And if you're curious when I use this one and when I use the previous filters, I usually use this filter when shooting indoors or when the sun is pretty low. Basically something that's not too bright. And of course, with the other filters, I'm usually using those when I'm filming in a pretty bright setting. That may be obvious to some of you, but I just thought I would mention it. If you use only automatic settings though, you would just leave this on all the time. If you like the look that the mist filters create, that is. You wouldn't expect this thing to be so useful. After all, it is a selfie stick, and those are lame. However, when you pair this with the Pocket 3 and with the right moves and techniques, it basically acts as a jib, which is an expensive piece of videography equipment that I do not own. So this is a much cheaper alternative. It is made of carbon fiber, so you know it's pretty strong. It is surprisingly light for something that is so strong, and at full length, it is 10 feet or 3 meters long. The downside is it is not that cheap, but the strength and the durability is there. The Insta360 heavy-duty clamp is probably one of the best and safest ways to mount your Pocket 3 onto bikes, motorcycles, scooters, railings, tables, tripods, basically anything that's about 1.5 inches wide, which is how wide this opens up. And if you use this tool that it comes with to make sure that this clamp is as tight as possible, there's no way that this thing is coming off. It'd take about maybe 4 Dwayne "The Rock" Johnsons to yank it off, I think. Don't quote me on that, I may be off by 1 or 2 rocks, but pretty close. Now, it doesn't have a lot of flexibility as far as rotation. In fact, it has no flexibility other than maybe this way, which it can rotate. I guess that helps with the stability of the whole thing. But luckily, since we have the Pocket 3, we can maneuver the camera how we want by using either the joystick or the Mimo app. The only downside, maybe, would be the weight. It is certainly not light, but it is useful if you are someone who is an adventurer or you just want to clamp your Pocket 3 into weird places. If you thought that the Scotty Make Stuff Pro case was just a little too large for your taste, then this SmallRig cage might be more your speed. It has a quick release flip lock that I quite like. You have a cold shoe mount for your lights or your mic or whatever you like. 1/4 inch thread holes so you can mount things to your Pocket 3, or you can mount your Pocket 3 to different things. So I'm able to mount this to my Sony FX3 or my A7S III just by using a 1/4 inch male-to-male screw adapter. It comes with a nice little strap, and overall, it's just a solid little piece of gear. The case that comes with the Pocket 3 is pretty nice. Keeps everything snug, sometimes a little too snug for my taste. Maybe because I have a bunch of other stuff that I add to it, which makes it too hard to zip this up. But I also worry about the protection of everything inside since it's not really protective. Good words, Dylan. So I bought this guy instead. This is the Skyreat Pocket 3 case. It is, of course, not as small as the case that comes with the Pocket 3, but it is pretty compact still, and it's also hard-shelled. Although the top is more like a medium hardness, but it's still harder than the stock Pocket 3 case. But what I really love about it is it fits everything perfectly. Nice and snug. It lets you add other important stuff that don't really fit in the stock case, like your different filters, a bunch of lens cloth if you need them, cheese, a cable to connect the Pocket 3 with your computer, and more. Basically, all of the important things that are necessary to have when working with the Pocket 3. It is not the flashiest accessory, but honestly, it is much needed in my opinion. Magic arms are the jam. This is a fairly budget one from Jebutu. I bought the 22-inch one, which I think was a great choice because it just allows me a little extra length and flexibility to move this thing around. You can maneuver and tighten the clamps so you can position how you want it, so you can get shots that are normally tricky to get with bigger and heavier gear. And as you know, it's one of the big pros to using the Pocket 3 because it's so light and has such great image quality that you might as well use it to get shots that you normally could not. I mainly use this on my desk, so when I need to shoot a vertical video with the Pocket 3, I can do so really quickly since I don't have a ton of room to set up another tripod in this hodgepodge of a studio. But there are many other use cases for picking up one of these. I'm curious to know though, what is a Pocket 3 accessory that I missed and that you swear by? Let me know in the comments below and give this Pocket 3 video a watch because I think you'll find it very useful. I'm Dylan John, thanks a ton for watching and have a great rest of your day.